Nice to see you on today. Thank you for tuning in. Today starts our What's for Dinner series. So what's for dinner tonight? I just got home from work. I had to fight traffic. I walked in the door and the natives are restless. The kids are screaming, everybody's hungry. The husband is saying that I want food. Where is it, woman? What do? I need some food and I need it fast. So what do? You run to the kitchen and figure out what can you cook really quickly that'll satisfy everybody in the house. For me, I only have one other to worry about besides me, actually two. Me, my husband, and the dog. So my husband I walk in the door and he says, honey, I'm hungry. So what do? I'll go in the kitchen and try to figure out something to cook really quickly. So today I'm going to show you a meal that you can cook quick. I'm not going to say less than 30 minutes. I'm going to say less than 45 minutes. You can have the food cooked on the plate, served to the hubby and the children, and they're going to love it. Love it. We're going to have some ground turkey meatballs with fennel, volumized with chickpeas, and some sweet potatoes a different way. Tune in and watch this. Okay, so now for the sake of time, I've already cut up a lot of the items that we're going to need for this dish, 30 minutes or less. I already have water boiling on the stove that's already salted in a saucepan. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we cut up our sweet potatoes already. We're going to put that in the saucepan with the water that's boiling. A lot of times if you put it in there while it's already boiling, it cooks a little faster. You really need to do that for sweet potatoes because they are a lot firmer than regular potatoes, so it takes them a little longer to cook. So we're going to put that in the water. Now we're going to be really careful because that water's hot. So you don't want to put your hand over there too much because you don't want to get burned. You let that start to boil, and just to make sure that you get the right amount of steam, we're going to put the top over and leave it off just a little bit. That way it doesn't boil over, but it boils in there and gets it cooking kind of fast. Okay, I'm cooking for two, so we only needed 2 sweet potatoes. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to keep this pan out because we can use it for something else in just a minute that I'm going to show you. Okay, so now we've already got our ground turkey, not beef, ground turkey in a bowl ready to go. You're going to have to get your hands dirty with this one. So first things you're going to do is you're going to crack 1 egg into this. And normally I have what you call a trash bowl. You put a bowl on the counter. Learned that from Miss Rachel Ray. Put a bowl on the counter and put all your trash in it so that you don't have to worry about always having to run to the trash can or things piling up, okay? Pause it. Okay, so now I had to run and get my trash bowl so you can see that it's going right there. That way I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so now we've already cracked our egg into the ground turkey. Right here I have what is called some herbed sea salt. I make this myself. We'll tell you about how to get you some of that later. So I put a little herb sea salt. It just takes a couple of pinches, okay, and we got 1 pound of ground turkey. So that's all you're going to need for that. I also have some minced garlic. Just a little bit, give it enough flavor. You're going to use a little minced garlic. You can cut it yourself if you prefer, but we are pressed for time because the natives are restless and they're wanting some food, okay? So put your little minced garlic in there, usually just a little bit on the end of the fork. Now we're going to use some dried onion, all right, and some fennel. Fennel is a really good herb because it gives, you know how you have Italian sausage, you never know how they get it to taste that way. It gives it that little sausagey taste, okay, without you having to really do some stuff to it. So we're going to put a little fennel in there, and we're going to put a little dried onion. Okay, I'm leaving a little in here in this bowl because I'm going to use the rest for our veggies that's going to go with our meatballs that we're making. Okay, also in here we're going to put some purple onions that we've already chopped. Okay, and we're going to leave some of that out too for our veggies. Okay, just enough just enough for our veggies here to give it some extra flavor. And then we have some bell peppers and some tomatoes. Now I only need a little bit of bell pepper, and I'm not going to put any of the tomatoes in here because our marinara sauce, which is also homemade, we'll tell you how to get some of that and how to make that later, has tomatoes in it and chunks in it because I like mine kind of chunky and my husband likes his kind of chunky too. So I leave them a little more, you know, meat on it, so to speak. So I'm not going to put any other tomatoes in there, but we are going to put in these bell peppers. Okay, now I've already put my salt in, just a little bit of salt, because when you are cooking ground turkey, ground beef, ground chicken, you have to remember that that meat is extremely bland. So you're gonna have to put a little salt so that you can make sure that the flavors come together. You're also, so that's why I use my herb salt, because it already has herbs in it, and it's sea salt, it's not regular salt. Okay, now I love this seasoning here. This is something I get from Trader Joe's. It's called 21 Seasoning Salute. It has all these different herbs and stuff that comes in, that's in it, and it's pretty much an all-purpose seasoning. Goes on everything, goes with everything, and you can put it all in this and not have to use a whole lot. And you got to remember also, we're pressed for time because you just got home from work and your husband's hungry. Okay, so we're gonna put some 21 Season Salute in there. Just a couple of shakes, because we only got 1 pound of ground turkey, so we don't need a whole lot. Okay, and then we're going to use some of our homemade marinara sauce. Now, the homemade marinara sauce, we're going to do a video on that pretty soon, but we're going to show you how to make the homemade marinara sauce. We're going to take this fork, stir it around. It has just about everything you need already in it. See, it has your tomatoes and your seasonings and your herbs and spices and all of that. So you're going to just mix that in with it, give it a little extra oomph. Okay, now we've put our marinara sauce in. Now here's the fun part. Now a lot of people put breadcrumbs and things like that in their meatballs and meatloaf. Me, myself personally, if I do want to use something to bind it, I try using oats. I grind the oats up in a food processor and use oats because it's a little better for you than the bread. My husband's not really a bread eater, so I don't like to put a lot of bread in things. Okay, so but for this one, I'm not going to use anything. You're going to see that the seasonings and the meat and all of that together does exactly what we needed to do. Okay, so here's the fun part. We're going to get our hands dirty. So we get down in here and mix it really well. Now, and you're going to see how it just all kind of comes together. Don't really need any breadcrumbs or anything like that. It will hold because your veggies are not cooked. Your onions and your bell peppers and things like that are not cooked. So it's going to hold together without the breadcrumbs. Now, if you just feel a little more comfortable using breadcrumbs, that's fine. You know, not a problem. So let me wash this off for just a minute. We're going to get some clean hands, and then we're going to cut our pans on that are going to be getting hot already with a little coconut oil in the bottom. Okay? Okay, so now we're over here with our pans, and we're going to go ahead and start heating our pans with the oil in it, because we're going to need that in just a minute. And if you can see, you probably can't tell, but I've cut the fire down on my sweet potatoes a tad because they're boiling really good. And so I want to kind of cut it down a little bit so they don't start to get too fast on me. Okay, so now we're going to put our oven on medium high, which on my oven is about a 7. Okay, and I'm going to put coconut oil in each pan. Coconut oil has a high burn capability. So because it has a high burn capability, I can cut it on and heat it up without a problem. Now, you're probably wondering why I got this little packet in my hand that looks like petroleum jelly. Well, this is actually coconut oil. Trader Joe's sells coconut oil in, of course, the jars and the bottles, but they also sell it like this, which I love, and it's in a box. And it comes in these little bitty individual packets, so that's your perfect portion of coconut oil. Coconut oil is wonderful to cook with. It has a lot of good qualities and makes your food a little healthier. Okay, so we're going to put one of these in there into this pan and let it begin to melt down. And we're also going to start it on the other pan because we're going to be putting our veggies in there in just a minute, and it needs to already be hot and good and ready to go. Everybody needs a pair of kitchen scissors. Okay, they come in handy. You can actually cut chicken, debone, cut meat, cut greens, all that kind of stuff with it, or cut little packages open, which is what I'm doing. You just make sure you wash it between each use, okay? So we're going to put that coconut oil in there, and we're going to let that go. Now this pan right here is going to have our veggies, and since it's going to take me a little time to roll up the meatballs, I'm going to cut this one down to a medium low, or medium low, which is like a 4 or 5, so that it doesn't cook off so fast, okay? You're going to make sure that the pans are on the burners. When you get your pans, you want to make sure that you have pans. They don't have to be too expensive, but they have a little weight on them so that they can hold down on the burners, okay? Okay, now we're going to form our meatballs. And remember, I told you you can use your little pan for something else so that you don't mess up 1,500 dishes in the kitchen, okay? So we're going to form our meatballs, and it's just something as simple as rolling into a little ball. And just rolling it, and sometimes you don't even have to roll, you can just toss it back and forth in your hand, and as you toss it back and forth in your hand, they form a ball. And since, like I said, I'm cooking for 2, just me and my husband, he's the only one that's probably going to eat all these meatballs, but you want to make them big enough, not so small that they look like the itty bitty meatballs that you feed to the kids in the spaghetti and meatballs, you know. But you want to make them big enough to where it's really hearty, and because you're making a meal out of just the meatballs, okay? So now you're going to keep that up until you get enough meatballs to put in your pan. And so we're going to start out with probably this 1 pound, 3, 6, 9. We'll probably make about 12 meatballs. Okay, which works fine because whatever meatballs are left over, I will just pack up for his lunch tomorrow. And again, they're ground turkey, not ground beef, so that they're a little bit healthier and the meat is leaner. I always either get the 85-15 or the 90-10 because you want the leanest meat possible. Okay, and there we have formed our meatballs. Okay, now make sure that you remember, whenever you handle raw meat, before you touch anything else, you always wash your hands, because you don't want to transfer that raw meat and blood or whatever was on it onto your other food. So you always wash your hands between everything that you do. So we're going to wash our hands and get that meat off of our hands here. And then I'm just gonna sit that bowl right down in the sink because it'll be right there for me to wash when I finish. Okay, I always keep a towel over my shoulder so that I can dry my hands no matter what. And this towel, I love this towel because it says, does running late count as exercise? So yeah, so that's me. So I always keep a towel over my shoulder. So now we're going to take these meatballs and we're going to put them in our hot pan that's already got the oil and already going, okay? Okay, so now we've already started putting our meatballs in the pan. Make sure, don't do like I just did. Make sure that you spread them out so that they all fit. Now, you're probably wondering, how are they going to stay together while they're cooking in this pan? Because if you try to turn them over, they just probably are going to fall apart. Well, I'm going to tell you how you're going to do that. First thing you're going to do is cut your fire down. Okay, you're going to cut it down to a medium, low, or a low. Then you're going to take your top, okay, that goes to your pan, and you're going to put it over top of your pan so that the steam can cook the meatballs. You don't have to turn them over. You can cook them in the oven if you like. I cook them in the oven a lot too because they hold their form a little better. But you put them over top so that the steam can cook the meatballs, and they don't take very long to cook. Now we're going to take a look at our sweet potatoes and make sure they are doing fine, which it looks like they are. I forgot to grab my fork. I always have a fork and a spoon handy in the kitchen because you want to check things and taste things. So, and they're soft already. See what I mean? They're already soft. So we're going to let them cook a little bit longer. I'm going to put that top back on there. Make sure you always leave the top cracked off a little bit. That way it doesn't boil over. You get the steam that you're looking for. Okay? Now, I've already washed this bowl so that we can reuse it. Of course, we don't want to dirty up everything in the kitchen. What we have here are fennel bulbs. Okay? I also got these at Trader Joe's. Y'all can tell I love Trader Joe's, right? Even though there's not one here in Memphis. We go all the way to Nashville just to get Trader Joe's stuff, and I pack dry ice and everything else in the cooler so I can get it home 3 hours away. So, but I also got these at Trader Joe's. But you can find fennel bulbs, of course, anywhere. Any grocery store has them. But these are fennel bulbs. They look like a big stalk of celery, but the taste of them are absolutely wonderful. They have a licoricey smell, but once you cook them, it just, I can't even describe it. It has like a buttery, chickeny kind of taste, you know, you know, once you cook them. Okay, so we're gonna take these fennel bulbs and we're gonna cut them straight down the middle, and it's just a quick veggie that you can cook really fast, because of course you don't want to do all this cabbage and everything, and your husband's hungry and he's yelling at you and telling you, hey, I'm hungry, where's my food, woman? And you know, all of that. So we're going to cut these fennel bulbs. You cut them in half because that's the best way to cut them. I always cut the tips off. You can use these. They give them pretty good flavor, but I try to cut as much of it off as possible because they can get a little tart once you start cooking. Now I'm going to cut that down, and it's going to create these little rings when you start sauteing. Okay, now they have a core. If you can see it, I don't know if you can see that, but they have a little bit of a core. So what you do to get around the core is you just cut them on the sides. Okay, and then once you cut that down, throw that into your trash bowl, and then you start on your next one. Okay, and again, like I said, they create these lovely rings. When you start sauteing them, these rings break up and, you know, get caramelized, and they're really good. And I know most folks don't even know what fennel bulbs are, but I'm telling you, especially with stuff like meatballs, Italian sausage, things like that, fennel is excellent with that. So we're cutting these bulbs up, and I'm going to take this big one and put it over here because you still want to use a little bit of the leaf because you still want it to have some of that flavor, but you don't want to use too much of the leaf. So, cutting that down. And notice how I'm holding my knife between my fingers and not like this. That's how you get your wrist hurt. So you just hold it this way. Okay, so you cut that down. And then we're going to cut around the core. That goes into our trash bowl, and then we're going to take, oh, I made a mess. We're going to take these and put this into our big bowl because we're going to saute these. They're going to cook pretty quick. So that's why we wait till the last minute to cook this one. So they're going to cook pretty quick. Now, got one more to go. Two fennel bulbs. And what's going to happen is, I don't eat meat anymore, but my husband does. So the meat, of course, will, whatever he doesn't eat is going to go in his lunch for tomorrow. But then this also helps somebody like me who doesn't really eat meat to have a full meal as well, still have all the good flavors, and then whatever is left over I could pack in my lunch, see. So now I'm going to teach you a nice little trick. These fennel bulbs are in the bowl already ready to go, but when you get over to your pan, you don't want to have to keep walking back and forth to get stuff to put in it. Remember we left those tomatoes and bell peppers in a bowl? We're going to go ahead and put that in there with the fennel. Then we left a little bit of the fennel seeds and the dried onions. We're going to put that in there with the fennel. And as you go, you just put your little bowls over there. You got your purple onions, which give it a nice little dimension, just like that. It's like it just gives it that extra oomph to go over that threshold. You're going to put that in there with your fennel. That way you have everything in one bowl when you go over to your pan. Then you're going to take a lemon. You know I love, you're going to find out that I think that lemon zest makes everything taste better. Just about. So you're going to take you one lemon and you're going to put the zest, just a little of it, not a whole lot. You're just going to zest a little bit of it into the bowl with everything else. And just see, don't need enough. And see, and I drink warm lemon water every morning, so this lemon will not go to waste. I will cut it and use it in the morning with my warm water. Okay? And I'll put my zest in. And all you're doing is giving this fennel dimensions of flavor. Now, I'm mixing it all together. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my signature seasonings, and it's called a Zest of Life. I'll tell you how to get that later. And you're going to take some of that and just put it on there. You can put whatever kind of seasoning you like, but I'm big on trying not to use a lot of salt. Okay, now, and so then you're going to mix all that together, and then we're going to go over to the pan. Now, if you notice, I have some chickpeas. So this is going to be fennel times 10, because what you're doing with this fennel, even though it's good for you and it's veggies, you're going to volumize it by adding some extra protein to it. Chickpeas have a lot of protein, and I know we usually walk right by them in the store, and you think that all you can do with chickpeas is make hummus. No, you can actually make other dishes with chickpeas, and it's really good. And because I don't eat a lot of meat, I have to try to find ways to get extra protein. This is one of my ways, and it tastes really good mixed in with this. Okay, so now we're going to go over here and put this in the pan. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and remember we put our coconut oil in this pan and it's already hot. So we're going to go ahead and put our fennel into it. You hear that? I love the sound of the sizzle when you're putting stuff in the pan. Love that sound. So we're going to put that in the pan. And before we put our chickpeas in, we're just going to stir this around a little bit and let it kind of sweat. Want it to sweat off, just like when you're sauteing onions. You want this to sweat off a little bit so it can get a little tender. Okay? Now, when you're making something like this, sometimes I'll put a little top on it to give it, a little time to build some steam. And yes, I made a mess. And that's okay. My stove is clean, people, so we're just going to pick that up and put it back in the pan. But, so sometimes you want to put a top on it so it can get that steam and sweat. But because of the fact that you're in a hurry and you're trying to feed your family in less than an hour or less than 30 minutes, I like to, especially with fennel, leave the top off because you want it to keep a little bit of its firmness. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. So then after it's sweated a little bit, and you can always tell when it's starting to tender up when you see, and this is one of the reasons why we leave these in here. You remember the little leaves that look like dill leaves? You see how they are. Let me see if we can get one up here. All right. Oh, there we go. You see, you're going to see how, and it does not want to cooperate, but that's okay. You're going to see how the leaves start to wilt a little bit as you're stirring them around. That means that they're getting tender enough for you to enter in another element, which is your chickpeas. So we're going to mix our chickpeas in with it. All right. Just stir that around so it can get fully incorporated. And see, it looks like a nice salad, doesn't it? But it's nice and warm, okay? And so, good comfort food, trust me, good comfort food. Okay, so now we're gonna let that cook a little bit. Our sweet potatoes are ready, so we're gonna cut that off. Now, we're also going to check on our meatballs, because remember we put them in there and they've been steaming. Now, we're gonna check on these meatballs here and see, and I like this. This is one of my old faithfuls, my wooden spoon. Now, if you see, the meatballs have already basically formed up for you. See how they're already kind of formed and sticking together? You can turn them over if you like. Don't necessarily have to, because they're cooking through, but you can turn them over now. And I'm turning mine over because my husband likes them a little brown, so I'm turning them over so that they can, oh, one fell apart on us, and that's okay because you're going to eat it anyway. So now we're turning them over, and you see how when you put your top on and it steams, it starts to create its own water. It's got its own juice. So it's creating its own water and it's making its own little water to boil in. Okay, so we got these meatballs going. We got that cooking. We're gonna put the top back on because in a minute, I'm gonna show you something to do with these meatballs that's gonna make you just probably wanna slap me upside my head. But, but they're gonna be really good. And you still hear that sizzle. So I'm gonna turn that up just a little bit so they can continue to cook. Now, and we're gonna take these sweet potatoes and we're gonna drain them off and get those ready for us to eat, okay? All right, we've already drained the water off our sweet potatoes. So we're just gonna put them into a bowl so that we can mash them up, okay? And see how quick that was? I promise you these sweet potatoes didn't even cook a good 10 minutes and they're already good and soft. And most people eat sweet potatoes, of course, with sugar and butter and cinnamon and marshmallows and all that kind of stuff. Well, there's a couple of things you need to understand. A sweet potato is better for you than a white potato. Sweet potatoes are just as good savory as they are sweet. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little butter in them. Actually, it's not really butter. Because I'm always trying to make sure we eat better and I want my husband to eat better. This is a vegan butter. Okay, so it doesn't have any soy in it, it doesn't have any dairy in it. Earth balance, hopefully you can see that. Okay, so it's a vegan butter. So we're just going to take a little vegan butter. We don't have to use a lot, but just a little bit, because again, we only use like 2 potatoes because it's just the 2 of us. We're going to stir it around. It's going to melt in really well. And oddly enough, vegan butter melts just as good as margarine or irregular butter. And this is soy free, which is why I like it. Now don't get me wrong, I like real butter, okay? I am not that much of a hippie. I do like real butter. I like margarine in some things because it gives it a flavor that I like. But when you're trying to eat better, you do better. When you know better, you do better. And so for certain things, I'm going to use like vegan butter because I want to make it as healthy as possible. We've been on a journey to lose weight. We've been losing weight. We've been getting healthier, and we want to keep that up. Okay, so now you stir it around, and if you can see that vegan butter is just as good as margarine. It's already melted, so you're good. Then I'm going to take some more of my herbed sea salt and sprinkle a little in. Now you see the little black dots in there? It's not pepper. That is actually black sea salt. And we have thyme, we have rosemary, we have basil, all that in that herb sea salt. It's really good. Okay, so then again, I'm going to use a little bit more of my 21 season salute, just a couple of dashes because we only got 2 potatoes in here. And we're going to stir them together. Now, when we put this on the plate, it's going to be just good to go. You don't need a lot, and it's really, really good. And you'll be able to see the results in just a minute. This is done. We're going to plate that in just a minute. Alright, so now it's time to finish off our meatballs. And as you can see, our other is still going, and it smells wonderful. I wish y'all could smell that through the camera. But it smells heavenly right now. So, what am I putting in here? Barbecue sauce. Yes, I do make my own barbecue sauce most of the time, but when you are pressed for time and you got a hungry husband like I do right now, you don't have time to be in there trying to create brand new barbecue sauce and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to put a little barbecue sauce in, and then we see some of them have broken it up, and that's okay because, you know, my husband doesn't really care. So as long as it's good, he's fine. Okay, so we're going to just put that top on there, and guess what I'm getting ready to do? I'm going to turn the burner off and let it finish on its own heat. Now with this here, we're already done just about. We're actually done with this. It's already cooked really good. It's still got a little firmness, and you still got something, I mean, it's soft, but it's not too soft. Still got a little firmness. You still got your chickpeas, still got your seasoning. Now what I like to do with this particular dish, because fennel is fickle, is I like to add just a little extra oomph to it before I finish it off. So what I'm going to do is use just a spoonful of clarified butter. And the reason I like the clarified butter, which of course, where do you think this came from? Trader Joe's.
Show it.
It came from Trader Joe's. And you don't have to do this. This is just my preference, okay? This is clarified butter. The reason I like clarified butter, because if you can see, it's a little watery, and the reason it's a little watery is because they've separated the fat from the butter, okay, and made it a lot healthier, and the taste is heavenly when you use it. So I'm just use a little spoonful of clarified butter. Doesn't take a lot, and we're going to stir that in there so it can incorporate, and we are good to go. So now we're going to turn that off. We're going to plate this up, and you're going to see the finished product, and it's going to be beautiful. Okay, so now there we have it. We have completed our meal. We've done it in less than 45 minutes, maybe less than 30. Well, 45 minutes with your chopping and all of that stuff, the prepping. So 30 minutes or less, okay, whatever. You can they say 30 minutes for less, but they don't count for the prep time. Okay, so we've completed our meal. We have our ground turkey meatballs. We finished it off with a little bit of shredded cheese. White cheeses are better for you, and cheeses that don't melt that easily are better for you, like Parmesan and things like that. We have our savory sweet potatoes, mashed sweet potatoes, and then we have our fennel with chickpeas, which is delicious. It all smells really good. My husband is probably about to lose his mind because he's hungry, and so let's take a taste of our fennel and see how it tastes. I'm not going to taste the meat. I'm going to leave that for him. The fennel, you going to put it on me? Can you see me? The fennel, oh, it's delicious. I'm telling you, you need to try this recipe. And then we got our sweet potatoes. Heavenly. So, sorry. This is a very easy, very simple meal. You rip it and run it. You get home. Your husband says, I'm hungry. The kids say, Mom, cook something. We're starving to death. You need to do it quick, fast, and in a hurry because you don't have a lot of time. This is perfect. So, hope you enjoyed this. Go ahead and try it out and have yourself a good time. It's nice and healthy. Nothing too fatty or anything in it. It's a good meal on the go, and it makes good lunch for tomorrow. So, thank you so much for tuning in. Please hit subscribe so you can help me get my followers up, you know. Need my followers up. I'm new to this. So hit subscribe. We're going to have more and more videos coming for you. Thank you so much. God bless you for tuning in and watching all the way through to the end. And happy cooking.